What's going on? Welcome back to Trending Stocks. So we need to talk to you about Wheels Up Experience, ticker is UP. So this one has been getting quite a lot of chatter over the last little bit. So I felt it kind of justified to be the very first stock that I cover in 2024. So we'll kind of see how this does develop, but I want to go over some of the current data points and what the signals are currently saying. Before I get into any of that, make sure to hit that thumbs up and subscribe. Always greatly appreciate that. And with that said, let's get right to it. So based on Friday, which was last trading day in 2023, it did go down 14.68%. 2.4 million shares being traded, 1.6 is the average. There has been no recent news. So the last news coming out from this company was on November the 16th. No recent SEC filings. So it was just piggybacking off of the broader market. And as you can kind of tell, it did have a very abnormal spike starting around December the 18th, where it was around $1.74 to a high of about $6, give or take. So a pretty substantial run up. So I wanted to talk all about that. In case you do not know what this company does, this is their profile right here, so you can always pause it, go over it. Oddly enough, during COVID, when this one was starting to come out, a lot of people were very, very optimistic about this, especially because of COVID was in full force, and this one kind of seemed like a realistic, good growth stock. But then again, as you can kind of tell, over 2023, it did go down 67.33%. And looking right here, it did enact a reverse stock split. I believe it was June the 8th for a 1-to-10 ratio. So behind the scenes, hasn't been working out all that well. And plus, just looking at their last earnings right here, so you can kind of see as far as cash equivalent short-term investments, they have about 244.85 million and 319.57 million in debt. They are burning through a immense amount of money through operations. So just based on the mere numbers of this, of course, I haven't really delved too deep into if they have any current S3s or any other dilution that is pending, but they need money, and this isn't going to cut it in my opinion. So once again, I'm not a financial advisor. You guys always do your own due diligence. Website does look fairly good. Behind the scenes, it's a nice change from when I looked at it, like I mentioned a while back. But a couple of things to note. So like I said, it did have a very significant run up, and you can kind of tell it does and is followed by a very big increase in volume. But if you do look, none of the transactions that really caused that to go up were over $100,000. So it was just a lot of smaller transactions, meaning maybe algorithmic trading. This company isn't heavily shorted, so it wasn't shorts covering or doing anything along those lines. So I'll break that down. So short score right now is about 80.03. Utilization is 42.25, around 10% short interest, which is a percentage of our free float, so 9.87, and about 4.49 million shares overall are being shorted. And the only appealing thing right now is through Interactive Brokers, it does indicate that there is 0 shares available to be shorted. But still, behind the scenes, like, it doesn't really seem all that much of a squeeze play, but what do I know? In the end, it is and does have a new kind of signal, and it looks like a sell signal. So even though the broader market is ready to continue to rally, the fear and greed index right now is at about 76. So going into next week, you are going to see the market want to propel a lot of these stocks higher. But at the same time, based on what has been happening with Wheels Up, it does actually have a sell rating, and that's based on the technicals. So I'm going to go over all the things that you need to know. Oddly enough, when I was looking at this company, it does have a lot of good institutional ownership, and the biggest one is Delta. So Delta oddly has about 263.37 million shares. That is based on their last earnings, or I guess the last quarterly results submitted to the SEC. So ownership from institutions is 567.74 million, strategic entities is 88.46, and other, meaning aka retail, is 40.56 million. So kind of interesting breakdown for the ownership. But looking at some of the options activity, $35,000 in calls being purchased versus 63 or almost 64,000 in puts. Sentiment wise, 46% of all the options activity on Friday, which was again the last trading day in 2023, was optimistic and bullish. For the call options that were purchased though, there's an anticipation for it to be above 750 by the end of, looks like, January the 19th. And they do only have the monthly options on them, so it's not really that popular enough to kind of have weeklies. But looking at puts though, it is anticipated for it to be, surprisingly enough, kind of no real correlation, but it might be sub 250 by the end of February the 16th, but still very little in either direction for that. But when it comes down to what caused that recent large spike, probably was a result of one of the bigger institutions increasing their position, especially considering at the time when it started to get more and more volume was at around $1.74, give or take. And you also have to look at a lot of the other kind of metrics and the numbers behind the scenes, because this does show number of retail investors were getting in. So retail was catching on the fact that Wheels Up was starting to get abnormal volume in it, maybe a lot of the bigger institutions. So retail kind of took it and ran with it significantly higher and caused a lot of FOMO. So over the last several days, this is where a lot of people have come to realization, saying like this isn't necessarily worth what it is, because even looking right here, based on the latest Morningstar report, it does show the fair market value based on the assets that they do have. The fair market value is around $2.49. So technically it is overvalued, as crazy as that sounds. So let me know your thoughts on that in the comments below. But looking at some of the technicals, with it at $3.43, it is trading between this R1 and this R2. So 340 is going to be a very strong support level that you'll want to watch for it to hold going into this week. And $3.81 is going to be that next strong resistance point. Very wide of a gap, so you do have to anticipate that there's going to be a lot of volatility. But if this R1 does not hold, then anticipate it to trade between this 274 to 340. But once again, data point wise, there is a lot of activity this week, especially with the Feds starting to have and opening up from the holiday season. You are going to have on Wednesday the FOMC meeting minutes that could really continue and help propel the market higher this week, or potentially could continue to break this down as well. So overall, a lot of big things coming out this week that could really help this company propel higher, or to continue to break it down from here. So let me know your thoughts on this company. Like I said, I haven't really looked at it in detail in a very long time. Just oddly enough, someone emailed me asking for me to do a quick analysis on it. And yeah, it seemed interesting. It caught my interest way back when. Just it kind of looked like they were going to bleed through a lot of money for the foreseeable future. And that's kind of exactly what did happen. But no matter what, let me know your thoughts on this company. Have you been buying? Have you been selling? What have you been doing? And where do you see things going? Do you think realistically it should be going back to where it was? Keep in mind, it did a 1-for-10 reverse stock split, so factored all that in. But do you think bigger and better things are coming for this company, or is this just going to bleed out? What's your viewpoint? Don't forget to hit that thumbs up and subscribe. I always greatly appreciate that. And this promo has been extended, so take advantage of this with Moomoo. Sign up for an account with Moomoo, throw $100 at it, and you get 5 free stocks. Each stock is valued up to $2,000, so take advantage of this. Link in the description below and also the comments. With all that said, I appreciate all of you watching.